collaborative venture between St. Kitts and Nevis Medical and Dental Association and your station, your nation station, ZIZ Television. Our aim here is to bring information and education to our people in St. Kitts on carefully selected health topics with the assistance and the collaboration with resource persons selected based upon their skills, their special skills. And here tonight would be no different. Our hope is to be able to spread information that will help us to make us health wiser. Many persons consult Dr. Google on a variety of topics, but I'm not sure if Dr. Google would be aware of some of the peculiarities associated with issues occurring right here in St. Kitts. Thus, he or she may not be able to answer some of those queries. We have certain words we use locally, and if somebody were to approach and ask the question, "Doc, something joked me in the eye," I'm sure Dr. Google would have a problem and have difficulty in answering that question. So tonight we're going to have a very interesting and competent panel to delve into the topic of cataracts. That is a topic which we would have heard quite a bit about, but some of us would still be unaware as to the details and the intricacies involved in the diagnosis and the treatment of cataracts. And with me tonight to help me shed some light on that important topic, our panel consists on the very far end. We have Sister Williams, Sister Sandra Williams, who is the head nurse at the eye clinic at the Josephine France General Hospital. Next to her, on her left, we have Dr. Samuel Nesbitt, consultant ophthalmologist from St. Kitts, who left us for a while, and is back now serving his country. And we're glad to have him here tonight, Doctor.
Good evening.
And on my immediate right, we have Tadwena Duport, an ophthalmic assistant who works with Dr. Nesbitt in his office downtown in the Sands Complex. And together tonight we will delve into the topic of cataracts. Sometime later in the evening, approximately 9:15, we'll open the lines for those of you who have questions, who have comments in relation to the topic, who may have even suggestions as to how we can improve the delivery of eye services in our beloved St. Kitts. Now, I would like to open the battle with some housekeeping issues. In our beloved Federation, many persons use certain terms when it comes to persons who work in the area of eyes. And they use these terms very loosely and sometimes having them confused. We hear often of the term an optician, we hear often of the term an optometrist, and we hear of the term an ophthalmologist. And just to be clear, so people understand the difference between these three persons who all work with eyes, let me state here that an optician is somebody who makes and fits prescribed glasses or contact lens. That is their job. They usually go through a period of training, roughly 2 years, to be able to do it properly without any problems. They are not medical doctors. They are not medical doctors. They do not attend medical school. They have their training over a period of roughly 2 years, and they fit glasses, they prescribe glasses, they fit contact lens. An optometrist, however, would have undergone a little more training, and they are able to diagnose certain eye diseases, but they cannot prescribe medications. They do not carry out any surgical procedures. They also do similar things to what the opticians do. That is to say, they fit glasses, they fit contact lens, And like I say, they can make diagnoses by virtue of the tests that they can perform in relation to conditions like glaucoma. And finally, we have the ophthalmologist. That is a medical doctor, somebody who would have undergone medical training, went to medical school for a number of years, and after completing medical school, went back and did further training in diseases of the eyes. That condition, that subject matter is called ophthalmology. And so with us tonight, we have Dr. Samuel Nisbet. He is an ophthalmologist who has spent many, many years undergoing training to be able to attain that level of specialization. And he is able, by virtue of being an ophthalmologist, to do things in the area of surgery. So when you would have completed this program tonight, and you would have heard about the various treatment options for conditions like cataracts, you would have heard about surgical treatment for cataracts, you would know it is people like Dr. Nisbet who we have to rely on to perform those intricate operations, very delicate operations. And I'm sure he must have those skilled fingers, which I don't seem to have here, to be able to complete those types of procedures. Now, at the very onset, it would be nice for us to have an idea what and where a cataract would reside by virtue of looking at the eye. What does a normal human eye look like? And once we get that picture on the screen, we will ask Dr. Nisbet a brief overview as to what does the structure of a normal eye look like. Dr. Nisbet.
Just one little correction, but it's an important, well, actually two little corrections, but they're two important things. One, an optician does not prescribe anything.
I said fits prescribed glasses.
Okay, so somebody else prescribes them, and he fits them. Okay, now just want to make sure that that's not confusing.
Makes
okay.
Fits prescribed glasses.
The second thing is the people watching the screen. Just being maybe I'm being anal here, but the main topic tonight is cataracts. Glaucoma will just be the sideshow, a little bit, a taste for the next time. So if you look at the ribbon at the bottom, it says glaucoma and cataracts. I guess usually the one most important. So anyway, let's look at the eyeball, what your eyeball looks like. And we call it the globe. That's another term for it, like a globe, like an atlas globe. And if you look at it, the most important thing to look at is that it works just like a camera. And so if you're into photography and the cameras that are looking at us, you have something that takes the picture, and you have at the back something that develops the picture. So imagine you had an old-fashioned camera, you had a lens, and you had film. I mean, nowadays we have electronic film. And when something goes wrong with the lens in front, that's a cataract. Now, before we go any further, I think it's important that there are some misnomers that go around, some wrong nomenclature. So if we can get on the screen, I think it's slide number 5. I don't know if we can get that up. Is that possible? Okay. There we go. Okay. A lot of my patients and the public thinks that is a cataract. And I deliberately put it up because whenever I speak to somebody, I say, that is not a cataract. It's a pterygium. That's a whole different ball game, and it grows on the outside of the eye, and that is not a cataract. A cataract is inside the eye. It's the lens, like in the lens of a camera, that goes cloudy, sometimes with age, sometimes with trauma, sometimes with medication, sometimes with certain diseases that affect the eye.
That is why we were going to get onto the definition of a cataract, what a cataract really is.
Okay.
And I think there is a slide that speaks to that, where you can give a clearer explanation as to what is this cataract, what is this, is it something, as you clearly said, is something inside the eye, as opposed to that picture which you showed a while ago in relation to reaching.
Yeah, so so if you get slide number 7, which would be at the 7 by my numbers. Okay, so typically if you look into someone's eye, and I assume it's Valentine's Day just passed, and we all were looking into someone's eye except me, it should be clear. It looks like you're looking into a black. However, if you look in and it looks white, typically that's a cataract. That's the one on the right. But cataracts come in all different shapes and colors. So, for example, as you get older, instead of it going white, it can become yellow, like the one, don't change the slide yet, please, the one bottom left. Or you can get very pretty ones, like this, what I call a wagon wheel, I think. So they could be different. But it's the lens inside the eye that's gone cloudy.
Lens has gone haywire, basically.
Yep.
All right. Now, cataracts, I guess we see a fair amount of it in our beloved country of St. Kitts. And I just want Nurse Williams, from her experience sitting at the clinic, at the hospital, at the eye clinic, where many people have been coming over the years, what do our numbers look like? Nurse Williams, is it a small problem? Is it a big problem? What do our numbers look like?
Okay. Numbers-wise, in terms of patients, total patients coming to the eye clinic, it's about 4,809 total patients. Of that, for the year 2019. Of that total, 4,809 patients for the year 2019. Of that number, 875 patients were diagnosed with cataract in 2019. That is about 18% of our patients are diagnosed with cataract.
That is a significant number. How does that match up against the numbers that you're accustomed to internationally, Dr. Nesbitt?
As we were discussing off camera a little earlier, because cataracts are a continuum. I'll give an example. Imagine you have a clear bottle of water like this, and that's the way you were born, perfectly clear. But someone brought some evaporated milk and put a drop in the water. It could be a little turbid, but you can still see through it. But by definition, that's a cataract. So I think what you really want to say is visually significant cataracts. So a cataract is not just having a cloudy lens, but is it cloudy enough to prevent the person from doing what they normally want to do?
That's clear. But in terms of the frequency with which we are seeing cataracts, in terms of that frequency, is it a major problem compared to?
Well, it's a major problem worldwide, and it's a higher number of people coming in. Like my clinic in Toronto, I would say instead of 18%, it would be at least 30%. But the reason why I took the time to explain that is that what's considered visually significant in St. Kitts is not visually would be long past where we are in North America. And this is a really important point I want to emphasize. For example, there are no laws in St. Kitts that determine what the visual acuity, how much cataracts you have before you're disallowed from driving. And I see many people, taxi drivers, etc., who should not be driving. And in North America, they will they'll have a significant cataract because they wouldn't be able to do their job. So I'm using taxi drivers. It could be taxi drivers. It could be, and I'm sure you'd agree with that.
Yes. Public transport.
Yeah.
Public transport or private transport.
Private.
You wouldn't be able, for example, if you're 20, 40 or worse in Canada, you have to get your cataract out. Here, I have people who say, well, next year. Well, you stop. Well, if that's your job, wouldn't you? If that's the way you make your living,
Yeah, sure.
then you will get it done.
Do something about it.
Yeah.
All right.
And I'm forced by law in Canada to report it and pull you off the road.
Okay, that's part of your job, yes.
That's part of my job. If I don't report it and you ended up in an accident, I'm legally responsible.
So
There's no such law here. I've been pushing for something like that, but it's falling on deaf ears.
Yeah, well, we would hope that as we grow as a society, we can get there. We will be able to achieve that with time, because it's a very useful suggestion. And I'm sure with the increasing number of accidents that we see nowadays, who knows if some of them might not be attributable to visual issues, visual problems like cataracts.
You're absolutely right. I know of a prominent person of society who had an issue with a garbage can last week, and I know his cataract is significant.
Yeah, well, I actually know of a gentleman who was cleaning his mirror every day, thinking his mirror was dirty, until he found out later on it was the cataract.
There's so many stories that I can give you, but this is not the forum for it.
Now, Tadwina, what's your experience with the persons coming in with cataracts? How are they complaining to you? Because, as you know, when patients attend medical facilities, they're very concerned. Once they see a female face and they think that that's somebody who can soothe them, they approach nurse. Nurse is that big thing. What do you think? Well, what's your experience with those persons?
Majority of the people who come to our office for cataracts, they instantly want it to be fixed. But a lot of them do not know that it needs a surgery to be done. So some of them come and they think that we could give them a drop. A tablet. But then we have to explain to them, no. Dr. Nez will have to perform a surgery in order for you to have your vision improved.
Because, of course, when people hear surgery, they assume it's something major, some big
Yes,
thing.
and then they start to panic
Exactly, yeah.
and get scared.
Can I interject for there? It's slide number 8, and I think it's important that the public knows quickly what to look for when a cataract is coming.
Yeah, before you do that, though, at this time, we'll have to take a break for station identification. Sure. And when we come back, we will continue our discussion on the subject matter of cataracts.
For this year 2020, we at Smart Electronics have the perfect vision so we can see clearly what you want and what you need. So we go the extra mile to provide you, our valued customers, with special deals, incomparable prices, and the lowest prices in the entire federation on all gadgets and electronics store-wide.
Oh my God! Oh my God.
Yes, you heard right. All gadgets and electronics store-wide. We have cell phones, laptop computers, Bluetooth speakers, smart TVs, washing machines, refrigerators, toaster ovens, blenders, juice extractors, phone accessories, and much more. So no need to go to St. Martin anymore. We have everything you need right here in St. Kitts. And remember, we only have one store and we're located at Port Zante, opposite the food court. Telephone 466-4271. Smart Electronics, way to live a smart life. Terms and conditions apply.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
Since graduating from college, saving has been very difficult for me. Having to pay my student and vehicle loans and hire purchases made owning my home a fantasy. So, when I heard about the National Grad Home Mortgage, I was excited and relieved because the National Grad Home Mortgage consolidated all my consumer debts, plus, most importantly, providing funding to build my dream house with one monthly payment. Thank you, National Bank.
Visit any of our National Bank branches for more details about our National Grad Home Mortgage. When you bank at National, you invest in your future. Aedes aegypti mosquito is the carrier of the Zika virus. Some measures you can take to help protect yourself from the Zika virus are removing items that store water that can be potential breeding grounds for mosquitoes. Empty, scrub, turn over, cover, or throw out any items that hold water, like tires, buckets, flower pots, pools, or trash containers, and tightly covered water storage containers. It is also imperative to be aware of areas affected by mosquito-borne diseases before you travel. To prevent possible infection, preventative measures should be taken to prevent the spread of such. For more information about the prevention of Zika, you can contact the St. Kitts and Nevis Red Cross Society.
We have Dr. Samuel Nesbitt, ophthalmologist, and we have Tadwena Duport, who is an ophthalmic assistant working with Dr. Nesbitt. We started discussing the topic of cataracts, and now we're going to ask Dr. Nesbitt to shed some light on the symptoms. What symptoms would people present with, in relation to cataracts?
Okay, for those at home making notes, if we go to slide 8, we'll quickly give you a summary. And cataracts, you get a very slow, insidious loss of vision. If we are lucky enough for it to be bilateral, in other words, the decrease in vision goes down slowly in both eyes, then it's easier to detect. But what tends to happen, and I've seen it happen many times, the decrease in vision happens mainly unilaterally. Now, so what might happen, I had a guy...
So not both eyes?
Not both. Both have cataracts, but one is like 10 times worse than the other. And the person says, I'm doing fine. And then he gets something, or she gets something in the good eye, and they think suddenly the bad eye got bad, but the bad eye was bad all along. I'm sure you've seen that. And they said, no, what happened? I was good until last week, and a mosquito hit me in the eye, and it made the bad eye. So that takes some explaining to the patients as to how that is. The other thing I was going to say as we look at, if we keep the symptoms up, is that the same symptoms that you have for cataracts are also the same symptoms of other eye diseases. So they're not limited to cataracts only, but there are some things that you may want to look at and think you might have a cataract and get it checked out. If you have double vision, especially if you get double vision on one side. So in other words, something basic I tell most of my patients. If you get double vision, you're seeing two of the boyfriend or two, cover one eye. If you cover one eye and it becomes one, it's a neurological problem. If you cover one eye...
It's a neurological problem, exactly what you mean.
Oh, in other words, one of the nerves, it could be like diabetes that killed one of the nerves. So all of a sudden, instead of both eyes looking straight ahead, one is looking to the left and the other looking right or up or down. So it's a problem with the movement of the eyes. You have two good eyes, but they're not looking in the same direction. Okay.
So that's as far as the symptoms are concerned.
Okay.
So these would be the main complaints people would be.
Well, that's one. The other thing would be color. One of the most dramatic things, if we keep this slide up until is that when you do a cataract, most patients will tell you afterwards, I'm not seeing the last thing, a color change. If you remember the original slide I had up with different colors of cataract, what we call a brunescent cataract is yellow. So it filters out yellow light. Sorry, it filters out blue light. That's why it looks yellow. Down and left one and below. So what happens, you take that out, all of a sudden the world looks bluer. And some patients have trouble handling it because one eye you see in the world much bluer than the other side. Now if you look at the same picture and you look to the one to the right below, you'll notice sometimes the cataract becomes like a cartwheel. Now what you're going to get there is starburst effect. So the light is coming there. Those of you who did physics in high school, you get diffraction. And so, especially at night when your pupil opens up and you're heading out to the country and the oncoming headlights, you get starburst. So decreased vision, decrease in your color perception, all of a sudden you're not picking up colors like you used to before in starburst. are the symptoms of cataracts.
And of course, with those type of changes, that would be cause for concern, and no doubt would encourage people or force people to get it checked out. So,
Should.
So you're telling me there are people actually walking around and
Oh, yeah. Oh, yes. And Sister is chuckling because she knows what I'm talking about. As they come, they know that something is wrong, and as soon as it cannot be fixed by a simple pair of glasses, they disappear. And only when their family has to feed them,
They can't see at all.
they can't see at all, then they come back. And this is why when you asked me originally about the frequency of cataracts, it's not that the frequency of cataracts in St. Kitts is any worse. I mean, it's in some ways a little worse from diabetes. But what happens is we tend to tolerate things a lot longer because of cost. They can't afford to pay for it, or they're scared. And I'm hoping that what we could do tonight, if anything else, is take some of the fear out of dealing with a cataract. Okay? Because fear, as soon as you hear they're cutting your eye to do something, you can't open the door fast enough for them to run through.
Is that really a problem, Tadwina? That's the reality?
This week, a man thought that we take out the entire eye to change the cataract, and we had to explain to him that it's not so.
It's not a joke, yeah? This patient thought that we take the eye out, put it on the cheek, figure it out, and then put it back in. And he was worried that the color of his eye would change. It sounds funny, but it's not so funny.
Okay, let's quickly start to look at the causes, and of course we're going to start, because we're not going to complete it. Look at the causes. When we come back after the break, we'll continue with the causes.
Okay.
Just give a brief intro as to what are the causes of a cataract? Causes of cataracts.
To understand the cause of a cataract, you have to understand how the same lens. So if you take this lens out that we were talking about, that like a camera, and focuses the light and focuses what you see, if you cut it across, actually, if you go back and so the slides will be available, you'll see that particular yellow one. It's like an onion. Every year, you could literally cut across your lens. So if you look down, you see layers coming, concentric layers in the cataract. And some are more obvious than others. So because there are no blood vessels feeding the lens, if there were blood vessels feeding the lens, like a chameleon, you'd be at a disadvantage because you'd be like looking through a tree branch. So God decided to put it that way. But every year you put another layer around. If you put another layer around, it eventually becomes too thick to see through. Now, what does that have to do with the cause? So age. So eventually, if it gets thick enough, age is probably the most common cause of cataracts. However, there are about 100 different causes. So let me go through a couple of them. You could be born with them. Okay?
Let's stick a pen there. It's already 9 o'clock. Believe it or not, time is flying. We're going to take a quick break for station identification. And when we come back, we will continue with some of the causes of cataracts. So stay tuned. Don't change that dial.
Since graduating from college, saving has been very difficult for me. Having to pay my student and vehicle loans and hire purchases made owning home a fantasy. So, when I heard about the National Grad Home Mortgage, I was excited and relieved because the National Grad Home Mortgage consolidated all my consumer debts, plus, most importantly, providing funding to build my dream house with one monthly payment. Thank you, National Bank.
Visit any of our National Bank branches for more details about our National Grad Home Mortgage. When you bank at National, you invest in your future.
For this year 2020, we at Smart Electronics have the perfect vision so we can see clearly what you want and what you need. So we go the extra mile to provide you, our valued customers, with special deals, incomparable prices, and the lowest prices in the entire federation on all gadgets and electronics store-wide.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
Yes, you heard right. All gadgets and electronics store-wide. We have cell phones, laptop computers, Bluetooth speakers, smart TVs, machines, refrigerators, toaster ovens, blenders, juice extractors, phone accessories, and much more. So no need to go to St. Martin anymore. We have everything you need right here in St. Kitts. And remember, we only have one store and we're located at Port Zante, opposite the food court. Telephone 466-4271. Smart Electronics, way to live a smart life. Terms and conditions apply.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
Okay, welcome back as we continue our discussion on the subject of cataracts. And we are at the stage where we're looking at some of the causes of cataracts. So, Dr. Nisbet, as we were saying before the break, what are the causes can we identify?
Yeah, as I was saying before the break, there are hundreds of causes, okay? But I'll go to the common ones. You could be born with it. That is particularly difficult because the eye, you'll actually learn to see. It sounds weird, but you're not born with the full ability to see. So if you have a cataract, if you have a lens that doesn't allow light in, and then you take the lens out, say you did cataract surgery at age 5, the person will still be blind, essentially. They'll get some light because the eye did not learn to see. And that happens early in life. So that's the first thing. Trauma, that's the obvious thing. If you had a pushing match with someone and they smack you in the eye pretty hard.
If they choke you in the eye, as I said earlier.
I don't know, I'm not familiar with the term, but okay. I thought that was to do with a sharp object. But that too, trauma with a sharp object. We had a guy that we are working on right now. I think someone took a broken bottle to him, and I mean, that happens. It doesn't happen. At least I don't get it. I guess the people at the trauma unit get it. But when I was in Canada, I used to see a lot of trauma, knife, whatever, infection. So the two things can happen together. If you get trauma but it wasn't treated, you get what we call endophthalmitis, the whole eye. The eyes, because the eyes don't have blood vessels in the inside, they're like a perfect petri dish to culture things. So anything that goes into the eye can start a horrible infection, which is difficult to cure. Okay. Now, a lot of metabolic diseases cause it. So, diabetes, okay? Hypertension, because in hypertension, anytime you have somewhere that you can constrict the blood vessels and constrict the blood vessels to the outside of the eye, the inside of the eye suffers. There are things like collagen vascular disease, things like arthritis, lupus, rheumatoid arthritis.
Is there an issue with the sunlight and ultraviolet light?
Okay. Yes.
Because what I was going to ask you to compare it, and I'm glad that I'll be able to rely on your experiences in North America and in St. Kitts in relation to exposure to ultraviolet light. Because you guys get a little less sun than we do.
Depends. Not really. Not really. No, because
in the winter
you get more sun. This is a big misnomer. And the reason why you get more sun in the winter than you think is if you're an outdoors person, because you're not only getting the light from above, but it's reflected off the snow. So one of the highest rates of cataracts and problems to do with the eye in the Inuit, as you guys would call them, the Eskimos, which is a term which is offensive nowadays. And so they get a high rate because if you're out on the snow, if you notice skiers, the way of putting the funny thing is that as your cataract develops, you essentially develop sunglasses. Notice your eyes get yellow. So it's as if God has decided to put built-in sunglasses to protect your retina. But you're right, ultraviolet light. So if you wear sunglasses, or you call them shades, that will help decrease the rate of poor nutrition. So if you have been malnourished or you have been malnourished during your growing stages, you can develop cataracts. Other metabolic diseases like thyroid and other, Yeah, that's another point. I'd forgotten that. There are certain medications like amiodarone.
I'm glad you mentioned diabetes because, as you know, that is a big problem. You know, that is one of my pet peeves. You know, diabetes and the cataracts, because a lot of people don't seem to realize how important it is to keep their diabetes under control. So, in other words, coming out of what you're saying, poor control of diabetes increases your risk of cataracts.
And increases the risk of a lot of things. But come Wednesday and we will talk about that.
Yeah, of course, at another stage, the eye
we'll
has
deal
so
with
many,
that. But there's so many,
issues.
so many. I mean, Sister was saying something reminded me, and I'm glad she did, because it's just one of the mistakes that sometimes, and Dr. Lockley, you're going to beat me on the head for this, is that sometimes family doctors very callously prescribe steroids on the eyes because it's an easy way out. Okay? And so if they're not...
I have no reason to beat you on the head.
they're not sure what it is. I've seen it happen. You're not sure whether it's inflammatory, you're not sure whether it's a bacteria or it's a virus. So they give one of those combination drugs. And the good thing is that the good temporary thing is that the eye feels better quickly. But then you can end up with glaucoma from the steroid, and you can end up with cataracts, as that's just pointing out. So medications can do it. There's systemic medications that can do this as well. So there's many causes.
Okay, let's move on to the types of cataracts. You know, I've heard that they...
Can I just make one little point, and that is, it's not reversible.
It's a progressive condition.
Yeah. So in other words, if you get cataracts, say from the steroids, you can't say, let me stop taking the steroids and it gets better. What's done is done.
Yeah, okay, all right. And an important point, I guess, to underline also is that cataract is a progressive disease. It doesn't start and then stop.
Yeah,
it tracks.
Yeah.
It's progressive.
Yeah.
So therefore, at some stage, you have to make up your mind to do something about it.
Well, you may have a super loved one who will feed you and look after you.
And in the absence of that,
for the rest of your life.
Yeah, okay, all right. So let's look at the types of cataracts. What types of cataracts are there?
You could describe cataract. Okay, it's a types of cataract. You could describe cataracts similar to this. You can describe it by the causes. We could say what we call primary cataracts. In other words, it happens naturally with age. And we could also say secondary cataracts, which happen from things like steroids and medication and whatever. We tend to describe cataracts a lot by the way they look. So if you look back at that slide, I think it was slide number 7. And so the one that was sort of yellowish, we call it a brunescent cataract. Wherein the one on the left is called a cortical cataract. And the reason for it, you don't understand it yet, and I'm not going to go into the details, is because those spokes that you see there are mainly in the cortex of the cataract. So think of a cataract like an avocado or a mango. It's probably an easier thing to think of. In this one, the problem is the seed of the mango. In this one, it's the pulp of the mango. So you can we have what we call polar cataracts, where everything is fine except one little spot at the back. Steroids cause a specific type of cataract where everything is pretty well clear except there's a plaque at the back, so we call it the posterior subcapsular cataract. We could go on and on and on and on. There are many types of cataracts. No. Okay, with one exception. 99.9% of cataracts have no pain. However, that's as long as the cataract is contained within that skin, the capsule. So again, think of the cataract like a mango, and as long as it stays inside that skin, we're good. As soon as you make a little hole in that cataract, for trauma or any other reason, the stuff spills out, and you have what we call a uveitis, and it is tremendously painful. You see the person coming in, holding the eye, and the sun is killing them, and they're in serious pain. And that is, my dad used to say, the difference between work and work. So yes, it can become, but that's rare. That's not 90% of the cataracts. I wish they used to pain. You say, well, why am I being that mean? Because people get them out earlier.
Yeah, well, that is why we use the same analogy in relation to diabetes. Because
Right.
some people,
And glaucoma.
because there's no pain,
And glaucoma.
they tend to not treat it until there are complications, until they're at the stage of the amputation. So,
Absolutely.
but let's stick to the subject matter of cataracts. And as we are now 9:15, it's time for our next station identification. And when we come back, we're going to be opening the lines, the phone numbers for this television station here. I think 466-2666, 466-2666 for those who may want to participate, who may want to ask a question, make a comment, make a suggestion, a recommendation as it relates to anything in healthcare, and more specifically anything in relation to eyes and how we go about dealing with the problem of cataracts in our beloved federation. So stay tuned, we will be right back.
Since graduating from college, saving has been very difficult for me. Having to pay my student and vehicle loans and hire purchases made owning my home a fantasy. So, when I heard about the National Grad Home Mortgage, I was excited and relieved because the National Grad Home Mortgage consolidated all my consumer debts, plus, most importantly, providing funding to build my dream house with one monthly payment. Thank you, National Bank.
Visit any of our National Bank branches for more details about our National Grad Home Mortgage. When you bank at National, you invest in your future.
For this year 2020, we at Smart Electronics have the perfect vision so we can see clearly what you want and what you need. So we go the extra mile to provide you, our valued customers, with special deals, incomparable prices, and the lowest prices in the entire federation on all gadgets and electronics store-wide.
Oh my god. Oh my god.
Yes, you heard right. All gadgets and electronics store-wide. We have cell phones, laptop computers, Bluetooth speakers, smart TVs, washing machines, refrigerators, toaster ovens, blenders, juice extractors, phone accessories, and much more. So no need to go to St. Martin anymore. We have everything you need right here in St. Kitts. And remember, we only have one store and we're located at Port Zante, opposite the food court. Telephone 466-4271. Smart Electronics, way to live a smart life. Terms and conditions apply.
Oh my god. Oh my god.
Okay, welcome back to our HealthWise program for tonight, where we're discussing the topic of cataracts. And as I introduced earlier, our panel, we have Sister Williams from the eye clinic at the Josephine France General Hospital. We have Dr. Samuel Nesbitt, ophthalmologist, and we have Tadwena Duport, ophthalmic assistant, working with Dr. Nesbitt. We're now going to be quickly looking at some of the risk factors that can lead to the development of cataracts. So we'll ask Dr. Nesbitt to give some brief comments in relation to those risks. And as it relates to the risks, he can simultaneously delve into prevention strategies.
Okay. The risk factors related to general risk factors that you have for life. So in other words, if you look after yourself, exercise regularly, eat correctly, keep your blood sugar under control, keep your blood pressure under control, and keep most things under control, you can't prevent cataracts. Because the cataracts, I tell my patients, are like gray hair. Everybody will get them. If you live long enough, you will get cataract. But you could delay that. In other words, instead of getting them at 40, it'll be 60 when you're retired and don't have to drive. Okay? So here are some things you can do. One, obviously, if you do have diabetes or any other systemic disease, look after it. Okay? Sunglasses are pretty key because the ultraviolet light from the sun tends to promote cataracts. The little thing I was trying to point out in the break was that we used to have a problem with sunglasses because there weren't any standards. You know, you get a cheap set from some other country who shall be nameless, and bad sunglasses are actually worse for you. Why? Because they fool the eye into thinking it's darker, and your pupils open up, so more ultraviolet light actually goes in. So it sounds weird, but it's contradictory.
So
but
the ultraviolet light itself.
Yeah, but it's a certain. You were good in physics, so it's a certain amount of nanometers. There's a certain wavelength beyond which. So 400. So if you get I'm not quite sure of the ones coming into St. Kitts. I know in North America that you cannot import sunglasses that are not protected anymore for that particular wavelength.
That is to say, it can't be
Brown. So in other words, brown sunglasses.
Yeah. Because in the flea markets you can get anything.
Yeah, but it might be. What I'm saying is because of economic pressures, it's easier to make one set of sunglasses. So I suspect that most sunglasses coming to St. Kitts are quite safe. What I suggest to most people, if you go back again to your physics and figure out your wavelength, look for brown. I know a lot of people like to use the green ones or whatever. Brown is the best for daytime, and at night, yellow. The other thing you want to do is remember that sun doesn't come only from the front. Sun comes from above, and sun comes from below. So especially if you're underwater or you're near the sea, and I guess we're in St. Kitts isn't close to the sea, you should get more wraparound style. I'm so glad that the film stars are bringing back those big
designers.
Yeah, those big, well, not designer, but like the ones that curve around so that they protect the side as well, and hopefully protect the top, the one that
and many people assume that they were just sexy when they went over here.
Well, I think the sexy too is like looking like Shaft. Do you remember the movie Shaft? So somewhere in my house I have a set of Shaft glasses. But you want to try and make sure that not too much light is escaping there, because if you get those little teeny, remember, I think it's PDD used to wear these little tiny ones. They're useless because the light just goes right around them. So if you do that and you eat properly, keep a proper nutrition, and keep your blood sugar under control. If you're diabetic, and if you're not diabetic, you should be able to stave it off. You won't prevent it, but you should be able to put it off until later.
While we stick up in here and we remind the general public that we're open for questions and suggestions on the line 466-2666. But what advice can you give in relation to the selection of those shades, sunglasses? If you can give some advice on the selection. What should we be looking for?
I basically say, one, the protection is not directly proportional to the price.
But you know, there's some of them are labeled nowadays. Everything says UVB and UVA and
so if it says UVA and UVB, you're good. If it says nothing, then who knows?
So it's important to look for that.
Yeah, it's important to look for UVA and UVB.
Okay.
Because it has to do with a certain wavelength beyond which, and look for the difference between glasses.
Let's take a break here while there seems to be a caller. Good evening, caller. Yeah, can you...
The last stage of development it has to deal with the cataract. Go to the eye ophthalmologist and have it corrected. At what stage of development? Because sometimes you go to eye specialist and say, okay, you have a cataract. But it's not, you do it loosely.
Can you repeat the question, please?
To deal with now. So at what stage would the doctor recommend that you do that?
Yeah, can you repeat your question, please?
Hello?
Can you repeat the question? I'm hearing
you. At what stage of development of the cataract is the ophthalmologist ready to deal with that, correct that situation, that condition? When determination is made then?
Good question.
Okay? I'll listen off here. Thanks.
Okay, good question. And if you were listening a little earlier, stage with cataract, correct stage where affects what with the best correction. So in other words, when we get into treatment, I'm going to address it now. In the early stages of cataracts, you can get, most times, not always, you can get glasses that, when you reach to the point where the correction with glasses isn't good enough to do what you do. So, for example, I do microsurgery. I can't have any cataracts there to see what I do. So I will get my cataracts out earlier than someone who is, and I mean no dispersion by that, who is a gardener hoeing the ground. Could find a potato and he's good. He's not driving a car, so it doesn't matter as much. So the decision is half of it, well, a good part of it is up to you, and I will say a quarter of it is up to the doctor. If you could do what you do without the interference of your vision, don't let anybody
and not
touch
jeopardizing anybody else's lives at the same time, I guess.
Well, your point is well taken, but that to me is part of where the society or the powers that be need to put guidelines, because sometimes we don't know what is good for us. I don't know if you understand what I'm saying. Because it's such a slow, insidious process. You think you can see better. It's like watching somebody get fat or get thin. You know, you say, it's slow. And you say, oh, you look the same, you look the same. And however, somebody who didn't see you 6 months ago could tell a huge difference. So a lot of people who have cataracts say, I didn't notice anything, and they barely can see. But it was insidious over years.
Is that the experience, Nurse Williams, when patients come to the clinic? What they just notice it, but they have been observing it, not deciding to make it.
Most of the people that some kind of change in the vision, but they were hoping that it would not be cataract, so they wouldn't have to have any kind of surgery. They will come with the intention of getting some kind of drop, so that by the time the drop is finished, their vision is back to normal, and they would be good again to do what they have to do. So trying whatever they have to do the home remedies, they're trying the home remedies, but after a while they notice it's not working, so they come up to us to get some other advice.
When they come, they're having to deal with them, they're frustrated, he's inside busy. They've been asking you what they can take. Have you experienced those patients who, nurse, I could drink something and tablet, you could recommend any
drop. Always want a drop.
Any of those kind of questions, any of those comments?
Lately I've always said that we told them already that it's not possible. You have to go surgery.
You're forgetting one issue, and I'm going to get myself into trouble as I always do, but I have quite a few patients who said, well, we'll pray it away.
Okay, we have another caller on the line. Good evening, caller. You're with us?
Yes, good evening. Dr. Nesbitt?
Hello, good day.
I'm Dr. Glaucoma.
Yes.
Hello?
Hello?
Yes.
Hello?
Yeah, we're hearing you.
Yes, I'm calling in about this, the cataracts. We have many people.
Can you move away from your radio or your television, please? So we can cut out the echo.
Oh.
Hello?
Yes, what I'm saying is that there are many people here in St. Kitts that has cataracts, and especially people over 50 that have diabetes.
Yes.
And you'll hear the frequent complaint. Lord, I can't see, I went to the doctor, and the doctor said me had cataract, and we got to cut them, but me don't have no money. We can't cut them. Yeah. Is there anything that can be done for these people? I know in Canada you get it free with your OHIP, but what can somebody not do something to help these people?
You want me to address that?
Yes. That's such a good question.
That's a good question. The answer is yes.
Yeah.
The answer is yes, but with a couple of caveats. So a couple of cautions signs. So if say, first of all, you can go to the public clinic, which is significantly, that is JNF, subsidized. So I'm not quite sure what the cost is. I have never inquired, but it's certainly significantly less expensive than it would be coming to me. However, if you truly, here's where the problem is. If you truly cannot afford it, I can make an application on your behalf to social welfare, the ministries up on Victoria Road. And if you are truly indigent, the government will essentially cover the cost. I've had many people covered that way. What tends to happen, though, and I've seen it happen at least 10 times, where the person say they're indigent, and when they do an investigation, I know a particular person working at the hospital as we speak, and he said he had 3 houses, he was getting rent from here, there, and everywhere, and the government said no.
Driving a fancy
got 4 flat screen TVs in his house, and the government said no, I can't do it. And every time I see him, we have a little joke as I go in the clinic, and he says, the wife could still see to cook, you don't have to worry about it. So, she still hasn't had it done. So, your answer is right. There is something that can be done, but there's a process. So in some cases, they won't leave you stranded.
Okay, we have another caller. Good evening, caller. You're on. Good evening, caller. You're with us.
Hello.
Good evening.
Hello.
Good evening. I'm not quite hearing you. Can you
Hello.
repeat the question?
Hello.
Yes. Hello.
Yes, I got disconnected. I was talking to Dr. Nisbet about helping the people.
Okay, now we're hearing it properly. Can you start over? Now we're hearing it properly.
No, I asked earlier on about these people that need surgery, need a cataract operations, and they can't afford it.
Yes.
Because I met many people, especially the elderly people, and those that have diabetes. And they said, well, the doctor said, we have to have this surgery, but me don't have the money, we can't afford it. So I'm asking if these people could be helped.
But Dr. Nisbet, he just elaborated by explaining.
Excuse me, sir. What I'm trying to say is we got disconnected, so I didn't hear his reply.
That's why we're repeating the answer.
Okay, thank you.
The answer.
Yeah.
Right? He said that the Department of Social Services
has
a program whereby Dr. Nisbet, or if it's another ophthalmologist, can make an application to demonstrate indigence, that is to say, inability to pay.
I understand.
And with that kind of collaboration and cooperation, they can successfully have their surgery done.
Okay,
but
who
course,
can
the bottom line would be able to demonstrate in an honest fashion that you're unable to pay.
Okay, so one more question. How do these people go about it? What can I say to them when they who should I ask them to
can I address that quickly?
Yeah, Dr. Nisbet will elaborate again.
Quickly. Basically, they would still have to go to the ophthalmologist, say you came to me, explain to me that you would like to have the surgery done, but you cannot afford it. Okay? At that point in time, I will point you, my staff, it's automated in my office. They know where exactly to point you. They will fill the correct forms out and send you to the correct, you or whoever is related to the correct place. So it starts first with a visit to the ophthalmologist. And then they will point you to the direction. Now, we don't have the final say. The final say is they will have to investigate. Are you eligible for the help?
So you're saying that I should point them to your office, and then you'll take it from there? Is that
okay? Or any? My office is great. I'm not here to sell my services, particularly here.
No.
So, but yes, you can come to my office, or you can go to JNF.
JNF.
Whatever eye surgeon you prefer or you want to be involved with, and they can then direct you in the right direction.
Okay, because I've heard it many times, many times. That's why I'm out. Well, thank you for your information.
No problem, thanks for your call. Thanks for your call.
Good question.
Aye.
Yeah, so we are aware of the fact that there are people who have a situation where they have problems, and so obviously we would have to find ways and means of being able to help as many people as possible. So I'm glad for that question from the lady.
It's a good question.
Very relevant, very relevant.
Because I think a lot of people are discouraged from coming in the first case, assuming that they won't be able to pay for it, and so therefore they stay at home and suffer.
Yep. All right, what we're going to do now is get into the diagnostics. How do we diagnose cataracts? What tests do we have to do? And if these tests that have to be done are part of the problem which this lady was asking about, if these tests are costing thousands and millions of dollars, is it sophisticated tests? Are they very basic? What tests do we do to make that?
To make the diagnosis. So I'm going to put Tadwin on the spot. What is the one test that you have to do on every patient, no matter what they come in with? Thing?
Me for cataract?
Cataracts or anything?
Visual acuity.
Yes, she is. Sister cheated.
No, I didn't. I just knew the answer.
Sister cheated. So some of the
you have to do a visual acuity.
So you do your vision, what we call the vision test. So you do your visual acuity.
Is that a complex test? Can you break it down for people?
So
What is it?
So you basically, depending on how sophisticated your office, you look at the screen and you read some letters and numbers, or if you can't, if you can't, there are many ways. If you don't know English, there are ways around it. Okay. The second thing is, because your vision is down, doesn't necessarily mean that you have a cataract. It could be glasses. So one of the things I tell the doctors when I do my lectures, if you take a piece of cardboard and you poke a hole in it with something, a pen, and look through it, if your vision has improved, the chances are you need glasses and not surgery. So we have a fancier way. We call it the pinhole test, and if you come in my office, it looks kind of, but it doesn't work any better. It's the same basic direct ray that you're looking at from, compared to your basic physics that you did in high school. Okay, so once we've done that, okay, assuming that everything else is fine, your pressure in your eye is fine, we will dilate you. We'll put some drops in so we could literally look in the eye and see, like that picture we had up there, I think picture 5 or whatever, we can see what the lens looks like. Again, cataract is lens is cataract, lens is cataract. So it's not something on the outside of the eye. So if we look at that picture, I think it was, I can't remember what picture it was, I think it was picture 8. So you get a good look as to what type of cataract it is and what else is going on. However,
let me ask you a question here. You're starting off with a visual acuity test.
Always.
If that person has 20/20 vision and visual acuity, does that rule out the possibility?
Pretty well. Pretty well.
So you really don't need to go further.
Yeah, you need to go further because the person came to you with a problem. I mean, if somebody is 20/20 and they don't have a problem, why would they be at your door, Dr. Loughlin, just because you're a handsome fella?
They might have had some dimness of the vision on a particular day and they just wanted to know.
Yeah, so I'm saying if they come to you and they're 20/20, okay?
In relation to the cataract itself.
And, well, you don't know it's a cataract. Somebody, when they come, you don't start out with the diagnosis. I mean, I don't need to tell you this. You start out with the symptoms. Somebody says, I have a problem. I don't see well. So if they go up and they read 20/20, then the it's probably not cataract.
That's why I asked the question. Yeah, because since we're discussing cataracts tonight, we can more or less rule out them. That is more than likely not cataract.
I wouldn't say I would rule it out, but it begins to direct me
in another direction.
It isn't cataract. It could be. Sometimes you can have a cataract like the one that we are looking with the spokes, where the person is looking through the spokes and seeing 20/20. But that's unlikely, for the person to. And certainly if they're seeing 20/20 through the spokes, the chances are you won't be doing surgery. You're going to be doing glasses or contact lenses or something, that thing. So you said, what is the next step? I dilate them, and for two reasons. One, I want to see the extent of the cataract, what stage is at, because depending on the stage, the surgery is different. And then I also want to know, again, it goes back to the anatomy you were talking in the beginning. You have a lens and you have like the film at the back. You know, what if you have some cataract, but you look at the back and they have bleeding or something. So I want to see the whole eye. You don't just concentrate on one part of the eye.
In the event that there are other problems.
The other problems somewhere else.
All right, and so after we would have completed this slit lamp, I guess we were talking about the slit lamp examination. That's what we were talking about. Or just the dilation and looking into the ophthalmoscope.
Not the ophthalmoscope.
Just
like the ophthalmoscope that you use wouldn't do.
So you dilate
because the kind of ophthalmoscope a family doctor would use cannot see past a very thin cataract. The one I use, I have a very special one that I use that can see almost through the densest of cataracts. So you look in, but the public doesn't have to get that technical to figure out what instrument. So you look in. You're looking in, you're right, slit lamp is one thing where you can see the cataract, but you also take a look further behind to see is there anything else causing the vision to be down besides that lens cataract issue. And
as you said, you categorize it with what stage is it?
What stage is that, what type it is, and so for example, the one that we have cortical, the one that looks like spokes, is one of the easiest ones to come out. So you look at that and I have a little notation saying, okay, this one's going to be an easy one to come out. Oh, it's not always worked that way. Famous last words. But generally speaking, I have a grading system, and most people who do lots of cataract have a grading system that they know. But that's beyond the pay grade of this forum.
And I guess this helps with the advice that you give to the patient.
Well, yeah, it does, because if the person, so frequently in St. Kitts, because we're trying to narrow it down to St. Kitts, right? You have somebody with a cataract, and then they also have bleeding in the retina from diabetes. You now have to caution that person and say, yeah, I'll take your cataract out and you're going to see some better, but you're still going to have problems. The film, in other words, if you have a camera and you put a new lens in it, but you got bad film in it, you're still going to get bad pictures. And that's always difficult for patients to understand. I take the cataract out, I spend my money, I should see 20/20.
Okay. So in terms of the diagnostics now, is there anything else we need to do in terms of diagnostics? Or now we're at the stage that we now know you have a cataract. So what next we move on to?
Well, you're missing a big point. Before we get to that point, we kind of skipped a step. And the thing is, what you need to do is what we call a refraction. You're going to try glasses on to see whether glasses would work. So before you start, you know, one of the things, one of the famous words you say as a surgeon, you should be good with your knife, but slow to use that knife.
That's why I asked what next. Now that we know there's a cataract,
I mean,
what's
there's
next?
some people like cowboys just want to jump in and, okay, cataract, take it out. So at least in my office...
I didn't mention the word surgery. I said we now know we have a cataract. So, what's next?
Well, I know, because most people in the public thinks cataract means surgery. I know that, so I want to allay that fear. Cataract doesn't necessarily mean surgery. So the thing is, so what is the next step? Try to see if, sometimes the only problem they're having is glare. So you may give them a set of glasses with polarizing lenses in it that cuts the glare down.
That I understand, because so my notes here clearly speaks about use of glasses even before getting to surgery. Yeah. I just wanted to see, you know, for the public who we're catering to understand. So you know we have a cataract.
A very good point, Dr. O'Loughlin, because I'm saying they don't have to be fearful, because you have cataracts doesn't mean surgery. And the other thing that's important is that cataracts don't get ripe and they don't spoil.
Yeah, we always hear people use that term, that they
ripen. So if you come in and there's very few cataracts that you have to go in right away. Only the one we were talking about with the trauma, which was oozing through the thing. Most of them you can wait. You can say, look, go home. At least in my office, I always give them information. I say, go home, speak to your family, speak to things, do a lot of reading, before you make that decision. Because it's a big decision.
Yeah, okay. So we at this stage now, you're saying you're doing the glasses trial, various glasses, and if that is no longer successful, we've gotten to the point where glasses are no longer making.
But you're not going to get them to make a glasses. We can do a testing thing in our office to see if glasses. You could tell.
But there are times when glasses would be of help. Is all they would need.
Yeah, that's true.
So they've gone beyond that point now. They're no longer able to even get any help from.
And we are assuming that the retina and every other part is fine.
It's fine. Yeah, it's fine.
Okay, so go ahead. What was the question?
We're moving into the area of surgery.
Okay. What was the question?
How do we get people to understand and appreciate the fact that this is the only option right now? That I guess is a challenge because our people don't like the word surgery. They don't like to hear the word surgery. But that in itself, I suspect
it's not, for most people, it's not as bad as you think. Because if the person, you've been following that person, you basically have been warming them up towards surgery. So they come in, and I very rarely, there are some that are so bad, you just surgery. But most of them, you come in, and even if they have cataracts, if you could at all give them some kind of glasses to help, you said, go ahead. Usually by the time they come in the second time and they're ready for surgery, they're begging you for surgery. You say, look, these glasses are no good. And they take them and they throw them down and they say, you got to do something. So now already. The problem happens is if you're what we call up north cataract cowboys, you come in and you have to operate. That's the dangerous part. You have to work your way in and let them know. Unless, again...
Until they say the need.
And they say the need, or legally there is a need. And this is where, again, I'm harping on it, but we need rules in St. Kitts that say, like for example, the guys on the street operating the jackhammer. There's certain visual things, you could stab your toe or do bad things. The guys doing the lines, the electrical lines. The lines are color-coded. So if your color vision is messed up, you may hook up the wrong line and end up zapping yourself or doing something wrong. So all I'm saying is that we don't have any rules here, and we need to have rules. So a guy like you who has lots of power, it's time to institute the rules. So you're right. Either you can't see or that you have to get to see, otherwise your job is at stake or your life is at stake or the family. Sometimes, what I see happen here sometimes is the person cannot see and they're still satisfied. They don't want the surgery.
Yep.
But the daughter comes or the son comes and says, essentially, you better do him because I can't stay home all the time and feed him.
Okay, describe briefly for our listeners as we're running out of time, what really transpires during this surgery? What's really happening?
Okay. I don't want to go that quick. I want to go a little bit, just a tiny bit.
We have 10 minutes.
Yeah. This is going to take 2 minutes.
But what I want to make people aware of that is it that the eye comes out.
Okay, we're going to get to that. I have a slide about myths, but it's very important that in terms of surgery, it's a two-stage thing. Once they've agreed, you understand, make sure you go home. It's never a thing. We have to now, you're taking the lens out. Remember, it's a lens. You now have to put a lens back in. Hopefully better than the lens you took out. So that the lens, say you were short-sighted. Say, I think you look like you're a bit short-sighted. So say you were short-sighted. You want to make that person afterwards to be able to see in the distance without glasses. So that requires certain measurements. Okay? So this is where this wonderful technician comes in. I think it's slide, I have a slide number, if I can figure out which slide it is. It will slide number 14. If you can find slide number 14. So there's a bunch of instruments that in my office that I pass you on to my techs to do the measurements, and out of it is a very complicated formula that come out, and I could then say, I'm going to custom design a lens for you, and if I don't have it, I order it in from the States or wherever and put it in. And so that step is happening. We call it A-scan for short, but it's more than A-scan in my office. There's topography, there's what. Okay, so if you look up there, there's a bunch of instruments in my office, and you don't have to understand them, you just have to know you have to go through that first before.
But for the
surgery.
understanding of the general public, are we talking about general anesthesia, local
Okay,
anesthesia?
so we're going to get to that now. So if there's a slide that goes through the operative missing. So the first thing that people think, I think is slide number... so that... Okay, slide number 12 is one of them. So slide number 10. Again, the question, do we have to take the eye out to do the surgery? No. Do you have to go to sleep to do the surgery? No. Okay? If you're a little nervous, we can give you something to calm you down a little bit. Is the surgery long? No, about 15 minutes.
15 minutes?
Yeah, or less. If I had...
I don't think people are aware of that.
But this is why I said it's an important point to go through. That it's I just remember one of those we did last week, and we have a picture of actually sister here helping me do it. And the lady, first thing she said, I thought it was going to be longer.
Well, you see, that's a very important concept, because the word surgery and 15 minutes usually don't fit in the same line.
Okay.
So that is why I'm
so
glad
this is what I did last week, just last Wednesday, and that sister, they're doing all the hard work. And that's me. And this is the lens that we pre-calculated. If you look to the right, it's the lens that we actually calculated. So it's not just any lens. In fact, I usually have on my microscope, sister will tell you, all the lenses that I'm going to use for the day. So I can look up and say, give me this lens for, we have the 3 R's. What are the 3 R's?
Right patient, right eye, and right surgery.
Right. So it has to be the right side, the right patient, and the right surgery. You get those 3 R's right. Okay? You don't want to do the surgery on the right eye, it's the left eye, or you don't want to do the wrong surgery on the other eye. So if you do those, the other thing that picture that just had up before, people think that you have all these things you have to do. In my office, if you're using blood thinners, there's no bleeding. You don't get bleeding. Little tiny bit.
What's the position of the patient?
They're laying down.
They're lying.
So if you look back at the picture, that we had with me actually doing the surgery, that's the patient. With sister's right hand is in green. That's the patient lying down. The little white thing by my hand, that's the patient's eye. Okay, that's another picture of sister going through the instrument. So if you look at the picture on
and
the
they're
left,
able to communicate during this.
I talk to them. I'm talking jokes or telling them whatever.
Telling them what sister does.
Telling them what sister treats me. So they're relaxed and so on. And by the time you finish talking to them, the surgery is done.
Okay,
it's painless, absolutely painless.
Yeah, we down to our last 5 minutes. Let's look at.
So that last picture is a good one. It shows you the cataract coming out, and then at the end, you notice the cloudy cataract is replaced with a new clear lens.
And you're saying 15 minutes.
Yeah,
that's so helpful because.
And now we have, I think, there's one post-op, and if you could at least slide number 18, and after that, I'm done, and you could ask me anything you wanted. But slide number 18 is a very important slide. One of the things people put off the surgery for is that they hear these stories. That after the surgery, you can't go to the hot stove. You can't. I remember when I first came back here the first week, there's a very prominent lady she had to go. Somebody told her that she had to go to the country. She gave up her house and went and lived with relatives in Deer Bay because they told her she couldn't do anything at home. In my office, you get no restrictions. It's not necessary to lie perfectly still. Some people think that they have to be like a statue. I mean, I don't want them jumping all over the place, but little movements, I move with them. It's like a dance. It's not necessary to put them to sleep. And so I do my surgery on a Wednesday, and by Monday morning, you could be back at work. So those are the points I wanted to make.
Those are helpful, definitely, and I'm sure people would appreciate that information, because the thinking is that surgery means you're out of action for a few weeks. And
you're in the hospital on a ward.
Yeah, well, actually, when I came to Zinc, it's the operations which were done on cataracts. You stayed in the hospital for a night or two. That was the case. We've progressed beyond that, so we no longer have hospitalizations. But people still have that fear in relation to the word surgery. So the questions I wanted to throw at you are as follows, and some of them are myths. One, some of the people, some of my Rasta friends say that if you eat copious quantities of carrots and cod liver oil, that you can get cataracts.
And you forgot the other one, prayer and supplication.
Well, I've left that part for last. But,
I just think of a certain...
The thinking is,
yeah, but the answer is no. Again, once once cataract starts, it's a bit like a young lady getting pregnant. The cat is out of the bag, and you got to go with it, and it's not going to get any better. Okay. So it gets worse.
How much time will I need to recover from cataracts?
I just told you.
Okay. Now, will cataract surgery correct my vision problems? And
well,
these are some of the questions coming from various people.
The answer is yes. After it heals, you should be able to see much better than you saw before and correct the problem. The one question I thought you were going to ask is, can the cataracts come back?
That was actually here. That's on my list. You see, but
Sorry.
But the other thing,
I jumped the gun on that one.
But there's so many myths out there.
There's
so many myths, and I always like at the end of the program to look at some of the myths. All right. For example, somebody asks here, after surgery, how long should I wait before getting new glasses?
Okay. Well, the simple answer, the doctor will tell you, because it depends on how quickly you heal. I've had people get their glasses within 2 weeks. I've had people last